We've got a lot going on here and more coming all the time. We are doing so well on our healing. We have 2 or 3 people that are renting next door. We're going to have colonics by the end of the month. Massage, facial, all kinds of things are coming. It's so exciting.
I shut it off now.
So anyway, we'll have flyers on that. The first, let me announce some of the events. The first Tuesday of every month, we have the Community Hue chant. How many of you have ever heard of Hue? It's an awesome chant. It's supposed to be the vibration of divinity. And oops, I think this might need batteries, but anyway. That's the first Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. right here. So they already had that. And then if you haven't come on Wednesday nights, okay, I can say it without that, and I'll let her do it for Diane. Anyway, if you haven't come on Wednesday night, Miles is doing a class, Miles Ballant. It's called Powerful Tools to Create Your New Reality, and it is a phenomenal. Miles is a great teacher, and it's a phenomenal, deep class. It's at 7:30. And it's a down-to-earth, pragmatic, interactive group that focuses on how we achieve to create a new reality that we want. How many of us are really setting that intention to live in the new earth? Yep. Which is really to expand our love and splend our service to humanity. So that's on every Wednesday night at 7 to 8:30. Then we have Trigilla Gardenia is coming back again from a place in Damanhur. In fact, she's in the States. She called me yesterday, the day before. She's in the States, and she'll be coming around the 19th, which we have a 3-day Damanhur. It's called the Use of Alchemy and Ritual at Damanhur, and the Basic Alchemy School. And she's bringing a gentleman with her that teaches alchemy in Damanhur. And alchemy is not really about turning, basic metals back into gold. It's about transforming ourselves within back into spirit. So it's going to be a really phenomenal class. So that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can register on Meetup. We already have people registering for that. It's going to be a dynamic class. I've got it. I think I have it in my car. Somebody borrowed the Damanhur book, but I have the book here that showed these artisans in the early 70s begin to build these temples in a mountain in northern Italy that we visited a couple of years ago. And they are amazing. It's the whole history of humanity. They have an alchemy chamber. They have, what else do they have? Cher or Patty, both of them went too. It's just
everything for raising consciousness and living that way.
All kind of ancient musical instruments. Yes,
the journey of humanity.
Yeah, and it's a community over there that when Trigilla came last time, what her real passion is the music of the plants, and she brought an instrument that you could hook to the plants. And every one of the vibrations of the plants was hooked to a musical note. And so the plants, if you went up to the plants, you could hear how the plants were feeling. Just like Dr. Moto's water, you could either feel how happy the plant was or the negative notes of the plant. It was just incredible because we don't realize that every single thing has a vibration. And Trigilla goes around Europe and all over teaching that. So those are some of the things that we have, and Paul has an event coming up. Paul, you want to talk about that?
Sure, yeah, I have an event coming up this Saturday, Manifesting Your Perfect Life. It's a 4-hour event plus an hour break for lunch. We will go from the very beginning, which is finding out who you really are, all the way up through an actual process for manifestation. Come and join us next Saturday. It starts at 10 a.m. Be here like 15 minutes early to register, and it's going to be an awesome, awesome event.
Yes, and we have lots of other new things that we're going to be adding, but these are the things that are coming up soon, so mark your calendar and don't miss the Damanhur event. I mean, that is going to be phenomenal. Okay, we're going to have another song and then the message. That's okay. Truth though, if we can just stay in this moment, everything's perfect. Well, I am so excited because somebody that I love so much is going to speak this morning, Diane Merritt, and she has been a student of science of the mind for many, many, many years and has so much wisdom, and she has this gift. I just want to say before she gives me one thing about her gift, she gives advice without being asked. So with no further ado, Diane. Yay! Is it on?
Free too.
Do I know how to turn this on?
Is the light green?
Okay, is it on?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, wow, okay.
All right. Well, the first thing I'm going to talk about is being willing to change and quantum physics. Quantum physics is what we all do at every moment of our lives, and that's our creative thought, and that's the power of prayer. So it's not something that's unusual, it's how we live our lives, and the power for prayer. And I have two, I wanted to show you the books I'm pulling from. If you've ever read Louise Hay's, You Can Heal Your Life, that's Science of the Mind. Also, The 100th Monkey, which is, if you're not familiar with this, it's about monkeys that learned a certain behavior, and when a certain amount of them started doing they were taught a behavior, it transferred across the ocean to other islands, and all the monkeys started doing it. So that's what we're doing here in our lives, is creating a positive consciousness, and when there are enough of this, it will spread. It will automatically go to everyone, and I love that. So everybody's creating it every second, and what you concentrate on focuses on you. Whatever you're thinking about on a daily basis is what you've created in your life. As we sit here today, everybody is the absolute picture of every thought we've ever had. So whether it's you're working on prosperity or health or whatever else you're working on, you are the sum total of all of your thoughts. So if you're not liking what you've created at this moment, when all of us have things we want to change, you just say to yourself, I am willing to change. And that opens up your mind that the universe then can start attracting things. And the other thing is, if you don't have what you want, is you need to work on your deserving level, because everything you can treat and pray and do all of that, but if you don't feel you deserve it, if you don't have exactly what you want in your life, if we're all working on, you work on your deserving level, because that's at the root of manifesting. You can sit around and treat and pray, but if you're not working on your deserving level, it's not going to happen. And the other thing is, there are no secrets in the universe. People think, well, nobody knows about this or that. There are no secrets. Everybody's consciousness is showing it every time, by the way they live their lives, by everything that happens to them. I did take a seminar on how to give talks, and I remember, the one thing I do remember is that at the beginning, you tell them what you're going to talk about, and then you talk about it, and then as you finish up, you tell them what you just told them. So I'm going to try to remember all that. So I'm explaining what science of the mind is, and how your thoughts create every single reality. The other thing, and then I went to success seminars, and they had certain characteristics that enabled them to be successful. One was they wrote their goals. Because it puts it into the subconscious, but it also creates a reality. The second was they dressed for success. They always dressed for the job they wanted. They never dressed for the job they had. And the other was they all had, they would get up early in the morning, and they all had what they call the golden hour, where they would get up and whether they had their coffee or think about what they were going to do for the day or meditate. Those were the common characteristics of all of these successful people, and I thought, I wanted to make that part of my life. The other thing that was a commonality was they all had low self-esteem as a child. And through this process, they overcame and they learned the positive part of coming from something and creating something else. There have been studies done that children with high self-esteem, where you tell them you're special all the time, and they don't absorb new information as much as if they had a more difficult childhood. Not that you shouldn't encourage your children, but not that that's the only message, that they can grow and learn to overcome a lot of these things. And the other thing is that all words have a vibration. And as Mary Lou has often brought up, the hidden messages in water. When you say a word, that automatically will chemically change your body. And so I'm trying to just raise awareness, and I'm working on this all the time. Nobody has it perfect. But all words have vibrations. So if you're thinking love and peace, you're gonna start creating this. If this is your mantra, your daily mantra. And one of the things that it's very important that we raise our awareness on any negative words we're saying, because you can say something negative and then say ha ha. The subconscious has no sense of humor. So if you can't say ha ha at the end and then think you've canceled it, what you've done is you put your order into the universe. Everything you say is putting your order into the universe. And some examples of that are Lady Diana. She heard millions of times Lady Di. I'm just pointing these out. You don't have to believe this. I'm just making an observation. The other thing is, I noticed that Oprah always has a weight problem, but notice in all of her ads she used the words love. I love pizza. I love this. I love bread. She will never be able to control her weight if she connects the word love with food. And I'm wanting to emphasize that love is the most sacred word that we could ever say. We want it in every cell of our body. But when you say you love something, your body will never release it. So if you love pizza, believe me, you will keep it. So it's very important. And I used to help people with weight counseling. And if they change that one behavior, they would start having success. Because the super consciousness is so much more powerful than our consciousness. So if you can't say you love this certain food and then, oh, and I love my husband. Let's keep love a very, very, very precious word, and be very sparing where you use it. And so those were some of the things that that I've been aware of. The other thing is that I've noticed is the song "Let There Be Peace on Earth." Well, when you say "let" something, it will never happen. What you want to say is, now there is peace on earth. Now it begins with me. The only power in the world is the present moment. And if you say "let," the subconscious is going to keep it out here. Or I wish this would happen. It's not going to happen. You have to keep it in the present moment. Now it begins with me. Now I have prosperity. Now I have health. The other thing about the words have the powers. Like I said, when you concentrate on something, it concentrates on you. Or it's an interesting phenomena that doctors have the disease that they treat. And it's been shown that cardiologists will a lot of times end up with heart disease. It's very common because they're focusing on it all the time. And that's just another example of how your words affect every part of your life and your thoughts. The other thing is, wanted to raise your awareness on some of the songs that are out now. Don't sing them if they're negative, because I've noticed on some of the TV shows or whatever, the singing shows where they judge, they say things like, "You destroyed that song every second," or "You killed that," or "You slay me," or "You made my heart stop when you sang that song," or another one that is, I find strange, is people say, "Well, we hang out." I mean, can't you just say we spend time together? Why? Well, I mean, it's very important. And don't sing lost love songs unless you want to lose your love, because your body, your subconscious doesn't care whether you want positive or negative. It's going to give you exactly what you have put your order into the universe. So I'm just trying to raise your awareness on watching your speech. I work at it all the time. I try to observe myself. And that's like not easy, but that's another form of consciousness, is try to observe your words. Another thing that I find that I don't like, if somebody says I look tired, because then all of a sudden I'm thinking, wow, I must not look good, or then it puts a negativity in. So don't give that to your friends. I know it sounds caring, but it's really ultimately, you're implanting a negativity. And when you say something that you maybe, you maybe don't want to put into your consciousness, just say, oh, I cancel that. So you can cancel what you've said, but if you start raising your awareness, just mentally say, I cancel that. The other thing is, when you, in order not to shame yourself for a behavior, instead of saying, well, I shouldn't have said that, change all your shoulds to coulds. You'll feel a change in energy when you say, well, I should have mowed the lawn. You say, well, I could have mowed the lawn. Or you can apply that to anything. It changes the whole energy in your body to make it a choice rather than a shaming. So don't shame yourself over, and don't should on anything in your life. Just to be aware of it. And another thing that I studied was values clarification. And it was a very interesting course of study because people think we have all these values and, oh yeah, I have all these values. But when you get down to it, there's no such thing as a part-time value. And when I had to evaluate myself, I thought, what is my value that never changes? Because you can't have a part-time value. Well, I love my children. I love America. I love my dog. But there were very few other things that were actually a true value, because I think that my value is I eat healthy. Well, I don't always. So that's not a value. I'm working towards it, but it's not a value. It's a value all the time. And so people have, if you start analyzing what your full-time value is, it's very interesting. It's a good exercise to do on yourself. The other thing, the word judgment, there are two definitions. One is, the bad one from the Bible, we don't judge other people. But the other definition of judgment is discernment. And discernment is your survival instinct. Discernment, whether you're going to pull out in front of traffic. There's discernment if you're going to keep yourself in a safe place. So if you hear the word judgment, kind of think to yourself that it's a survival. In other words, if you hear it, try to cancel that negative part of judging somebody, and just know that it's a positive quality. We used to say a person had very good judgment. Well, that was the second definition. That was one of the highest compliments you could give somebody. So just keep in mind, there's two definitions. One's the survival instinct, because that's what we make judgments every single day in a positive way. It's discernment. So I just wanted to factor that out so we can kind of neutralize that. The other thing is, my favorite things of life are all the unseen things, which is love, trust, honesty, loyalty, intelligence, joy, inner peace, sense of humor, and being open-minded. So while we're in a physical world, those are my favorite things in life, and it's just something to think about, that that's the true beauty of life, or the things I've mentioned. Another point I wanted to make is it's become very politically correct to be offended. Well, there's a saying, that's an age-old saying, and it says that being offended is as low-minded as to give offense. So if you're offended, that means you're judging. So why, if somebody, and I understand there's bad things that happen in the world, well that's beyond what I'm talking about, like the tragedy we just had. But if you're offended at something somebody says, keep yourself in this pure light. Why would I be offended over something said, and just not know that that's who they are? And either get away from them, or think about how you can maybe change a situation down the way. But just to be aware that being offended is not a positive quality. But lift yourself up so that you know who you are, and you can work for good, and you're not taking that in, because if you're offended, that means you're agreeing with them. You have taken in their energy, and now you're agreeing with the person because you've judged it and you've taken it on as your own. I just wanted to raise that. The other thing that I want to talk about is that we're not so far from the caveman mentality. We talk about the difference between men and women and the beauty of the differences, the yin and the yang. Well, some of the caveman mentality is the man always came into the cave and faced the entrance. And this was to protect the family, to provide and protect. The other thing is, in a male, they are very focused and very good at working on one single thing. Well, that was a survival instinct, so they could go out and get the deer or whatever meat they needed to get. If they were multitasking at that time, the family wouldn't have survived. And then the woman is very good at multitasking. If she weren't, we couldn't raise more than one child. You'd have to be, you'd be focusing on one and three others should be, running towards the river. So we're made differently, and we should rejoice in the differences, because that's the yin and the yang and the beauty of life. Not fight against it. It's part of the harmony and the song of the universe. The other thing that I wanted to mention is about color therapy. Be aware of the colors that you surround yourself with. I was a designer with Ethan Allen for 12 years, and I became very aware of how color affected people. And it got so that I would not sell a red sofa any longer, because if this is your only form of communicating and you're sitting with your mate on this and you see red will either create anger or passion. And if you're looking at this person and they're surrounded by red, you'll start being angry at them. It's an unconscious, you can't be in passion all the time, so then the anger is surrounding them. And so I discovered after this happened 4 times, happily married people would, I finally would tell people, I'm not selling a red sectional or red sofa anymore. So it was just an idea that raised my awareness of how important color is. The same with a child that's very shy, you want to put them in red overalls. Or if you have an overactive child, do not put red carpet in their playroom, because it automatically creates a form of hyper energy. So green and blue is very peaceful. So you want to mix that in. The other kind, there's 2 kinds of pinks. One is a pastel pink, and women have known this for years, sorry men, but if you wear pink and you're going to have a conversation with your mate, it mellows everything out. Men can't be angry when they're looking at pink. It's very, very, it's unconscious. The other thing is they've learned that the fuchsia pink will totally calm down. They have it in jails. If a person is violent or whatever, they force them to sit in this pink room. But it has to be that really bright pink, and it will calm them down. So we are affected by all these energies. Yellow will stimulate the intellect. So you want to, if you want to really feel good or you're working on something, surround yourself in yellow. And white, of course, is very spiritual. The other thing I wanted to bring up is about eye contact. I went through a course, and people don't look at each other enough, because when there's eye contact, there's a chemical or electrical exchange. And the first thing babies want to do is they look at you, they want eye contact. They don't look at your hand or whatever. They know to instinctively look at your eyes. And when a baby doesn't get that, there's a part of the brain that doesn't develop. So eye contact is so incredibly important when you have a baby, besides touch. That's the second most important thing. And when you put your babies in these daycares, they don't get eye contact. And then it does affect the brain in a negative way, because they're being taken care of with a group of people. So it's so important to give your mate eye contact, and also your children, because if they're not looking at you, they're not listening. So if you're going to have a discussion with your child, get on their level and do eye contact, because that's the only way you'll know that the message is being received. The other thing is that I wanted to talk about is all these drug ads. People are going in and asking for their drugs, and now it's the #1 cause of death in America. And the USA and New Zealand are the only 2 countries that allow drug ads. So hopefully we can get those out of our existence. I don't know how, but it's one of my things I'm putting into the universe, because we take more drugs than all the world put together. And food is the ultimate healer, not drugs. Pharmaceutical companies create customers, they don't create cures. So just so you know that food is your, and Hippocrates said this, that food is the only thing that will heal you, eating properly. And the other thing I'm going to talk about is being healthy is incredibly spiritual. You need to take care of yourself, because you're not only setting a good example for the people around you, you're going to be at your full potential if you're healthy. And genetics is only 10% of what's going on in your body, so you can't blame anybody that, oh, well, my grandmother had this. It's only 10%. And if you don't eat properly, it will kick in. And 90% is environmental, and most people think it's much more than that. So that's giving you freedom. All the things I'm telling you is to give you freedom, that you have the power to make a difference in your life. The other thing is your posture. You can immediately feel more energy if you sit up straight, because your brain will get oxygen, and your heart. When people are like this, they are now crushing all their organs and will shorten their life. So the way to check yourself on this is go up to a sharp corner of a wall. It has to be sharp. Put your heels against it, your tailbone, and then see how far your head is out of alignment. And then you can see, raise your awareness. I was a ballet dancer. We had to do this every day just to, it was a constant reminder, because we all have a tendency with our electronics to bend over, but then you're denying your brain, and you're crushing your organs. So that's just another one thing I wanted to put in there. And the other is that fluoride lowers IQ. So be very careful of the water you drink. There's some wells. I go to one up in Newport Richey where it has a deep well without fluoride. Or just be aware, they've shown in studies that it has no difference on tooth decay, and it's actually been causing osteoporosis. So just be aware of fluoride in anything. And also there's fluoride antibiotics that are extremely dangerous. So if you ever in a very bad situation have to be given antibiotics, make sure that you say you do not want the ones with fluoride, because they've had some very, very bad side effects from that. It's a poison. And so another point I wanted to bring up is because I'm a Science of Mind practitioner, and I go to these churches, but one of the things that bothered me was people thought that all they had to do, not everybody, was do kumbaya and they bring in prosperity and health. No, you have to do something. If you want prosperity, yes, you can work on your deserving level, and you can also then do something. Put an ad out, or try to show up somewhere, join some groups, or put out a application for a job. The universe can't work with you if you're not. It's action oriented. You can't just say, oh, this is all going to come to me because I'm treating or praying, or so do something, and it will take you out of depression. #1 cause of depression is not doing anything and being self-consumed. Do something, anything, and the body will respond. Let's see. Okay, the steps from healing from any emotional disappointment is down to the most minor part to the most major part of your life. First is denial. You can't believe. I will use buying a car as an example, but you can apply this to any part of your life. first thing, or a death or a divorce, or major things as well as minor. This is the healing process the body goes through. First it's denial, you can't believe it happened. Like I went in to get a car and it got sold out from under me. I was going to go back and buy it, but somebody bought it 10 minutes before. Okay, the first thing is I can't believe that I didn't get the car. The second is grief. I was like, oh, I'm just so sad that I didn't get to that car. It was just perfect for me. The third is anger. Like, why didn't I come in sooner? Why did this happen to me? And then the fourth is, well, you finally start, well, maybe it wasn't meant to be. Maybe that wasn't my right car. And then the fifth one is acceptance, where, it's all in divine order. The perfect car will come to me. Now, I used a very simple example of that, but you can apply it to any time that you're emotionally disappointed. One of the things also I wanted to bring out is that people say, well, I just want to have fun. But what we want to strive for is happiness. Fun is temporary. You can have fun going out dancing, or fun, going to a movie, or fun, but that's just a temporary. What you want to do is, happiness is long-term, which involves inner peace, contentment, joy mixed in intermittently, but you can't stay at joy all the time. So, but happiness it's gonna waver. But that's what we want to strive for. Is to be happy, and fun is great, and you want fun, but just I wanted to point out the difference of that. And the other thing is that when you're saying, well, I can't do this, or I can't work out like this, or I can't lift this weight, I put yet at the end of every negative sentence that you might say, because it turns it into a positive. Like, I can't give up bread yet. So, if you're saying something in a negative way, always end it with yet, because it keeps you open to the energies of the universe that it's a possibility. Another thing I wanted to point out is that we're all addicted. And people think, oh, there's just negative addictions. That's not true. We're all addicted, but we have our own, it could be a positive or a negative addiction. So I used to do counseling for alcoholics, but what we would strive to do is change that into a positive addiction, such as going out and taking a walk, or but just be aware that addictions are not a bad thing. It's part of our makeup. We're all addicted, and you can think to yourself what that might be. But it's just so long as you work it into a positive, it's a really good thing. You don't ever want to be addicted to your mate, or because then you're needy. You want to be wanted, not needed, because needed means that you're only happy when you're with them. And that's a perfect excuse for creating an unhappy situation. My theory is you want to be happy without somebody, but happier with them. And that creates two healthy people coming together that are adding to each other's lives. So guilt and fear are addictions. So if you want to change that, just know that those are also addictions. I recently was helping somebody, and she was okay if I was sharing this because I'm also a life coach. But I'll just give a quick example. She lived with her mother. She was 50, and the mother didn't want her to ever leave because she says, I'm going to die alone, and I'm going to die, and I'm going to die alone. And every time when I would work with this young woman, she would tear up and say, oh, I don't want my mother to die alone. So I thought, well, what's the way to change this energy? I said, well, your mother's going to die. I said, maybe 20 years from now, but she is going to die. We're all going to die. And number two, likely is she'll die alone. I said, you have got to give up that fear. Most of us, ideally, will die in our sleep. Not in a nursing home, not, I have this picture of those surrounded by loved ones, and I'm 76, so I can think this way. But, surrounded by loved ones, well, isn't that a beautiful death? Well, who cares how you die, really? It's how you've lived your life. And so before the end of the session, she started laughing about it, how ridiculous it was. So I just wanted to say that, we all, a lot of people have a fear of death. if you have a fear of death, you have a fear of life. You won't take chances. So just, if you can, work on, excuse me, releasing that so that you can live your life. We're all going to die, and hopefully, it doesn't really matter how, because what people are going to remember about you is how you've lived your life. If you were filled with love, or however you lived your life was a good example. And the other thing is no matter what happens in your life, find out what your passion is, because people come and go out of your life, but your passion will be with you forever. Find out what you're interested in, and then share it with somebody. Learn as much as you can about it and share it. If you don't have that, if a person walks out of your life and you think your life is over, but not really. If you have your passion, you're a whole person, and you still have yourself, and maybe there's more things you need to learn. So always always try to figure out what your passion is, and then share it, because if you don't give it away, you don't get that good feeling inside. And another thing I wanted to bring up was we are, whatever our life is, it's determined by the boundaries that we set. So it's very important that you analyze what boundaries do you set. Say somebody's in a relationship that's maybe not healthy for them. Well, if you've set a boundary, you move away from that. So our whole life is determined by our boundaries. So that's just another thought process that we're not helpless. And it may be a difficult decision, but your boundary will keep you safe or create a new experience for you. And another thing that I thought that I read recently was that your life's about learning to say goodbye. Your whole life, no matter what, you are saying goodbye to your parents. You're saying goodbye to your children when they leave for school. You're saying goodbye when your children grow up and move to someplace else. Possibly you're saying goodbye to loved friends. So life is about learning to say goodbye. So don't be afraid of goodbyes. It's part of life, and we learn to handle that. And let's see. Okay, so be aware of the manipulation that goes on through the media, because if you can keep somebody in guilt and fear, as I was pointing out from the example of the woman that I was communicating with, they can manipulate you. You don't want to let anybody put guilt and fear in you, because then you're just weak and you're easy to control. And if the media is always putting a negativity in your mind, you become afraid. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. You're out of control of your life if you allow yourself to be manipulated by the media. And so I just wanted to bring that now. So let's see. And also I've taught tapping. And if you want to, I can just do a quick example of the tapping for everybody. Usually it's about prosperity, because prosperity, don't forget, is good health, good relationships. It's also financial, but prosperity is everything. So if you like, I could just do a quick little example and end this up and give you a little tapping exercise. What this does is it reprograms your nervous system. I don't know how it works, but it does work. People that have had years of psychological counseling have done tapping, and somehow it reprograms the nervous system, and they've had incredible results. So just, be aware of any information that you can read about tapping, but if you like, I can run you through a tapping exercise really quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you want to do this with your hand. You want to firmly. You want to point here, and you say to you, "I'm going to say this," and you can just think it while I say it. Even though up until now I thought I had to have this lack of prosperity because of everything that has happened to me in my life, I completely love and accept myself. and I say it 2 more times. Even though up until now I thought I had to have this lack of prosperity because of everything that has happened to me in my life, I completely love and accept myself now. Even though up until now I thought I had to have this lack of prosperity because of everything that's happened to me in my life, I completely love and accept myself. Okay, and then what you're going to do is push on every finger where the bottom of the nail is. And I'll do this 5 times. And now I am so grateful that now I realize I am living in complete peace and harmony, and I feel great. And now I am so grateful that I now realize I am living in complete peace and harmony, and I feel great. And now I am so grateful that now I realize I'm living in complete peace and I feel great. You put your hands on your heart, you take a deep breath and let it out, and you think to yourself, I release and let go, and so it is. And now hold both your wrists, because there's so many acupuncture points, and you just hold this and close your eyes for a second, and you will feel an energy shift. Okay, and that concludes the things I wanted to share with you, and this was all about science of the mind and quantum physics, and I hope that you enjoyed it.
Thank you. So nice to hear from other people. Do anybody have any questions for Diane? Nancy?
I want to
Yes.
thank you, Diane, for reminding me how important my words and thoughts are to my well-being. We all need to be reminded.
Yes.
You know, the Bible says it's the rudder of the ship. You know, the ship is so huge, but what really directs it is that rudder underneath, that small rudder underneath, which are our words. That's exactly what she said. I'm just going to take about 5 minutes. Miles touched on something Wednesday night that I wanted to kind of talk about, and it was Las Vegas. You know, all of us have been affected by that, haven't we? I mean, not only that, but the hurricanes, all the things that have come our way. So I wanted to say, you know, we are really transforming from a 3rd dimension to a 4th dimension right now. So things are radical, and we really know that. And these mass events, when we put them in perspective, we have to question, what are they showing us? Because, you know, everything in the physical is really a picture of a spiritual reality. I've told this story many times, but when the Twin Towers came down, I asked Spirit, I said, what does this show? And Spirit said, what were they called? And I said, they were called trade centers. And he said, what has the church been for the last 2,000 years? And the government been, but trade centers. And when they came down, what did you see? And I said, I saw Democrats, black, whites, Puerto Ricans, all different ones standing on the Capitol steps holding hands and singing God Bless America. So if we look at these mass effects, we have to question and we have to ask, what are they showing us? You know, and our heart bleeds for those people. I mean, we think about the mothers that have lost sons and the sisters and brothers and all of those things. But we also know that there's something they're trying to tell us. You know, what Diane said is so true. You can't see thoughts. You can't see emotions, but we see what they manifest. So what we're seeing is the corporate consciousness manifesting on planet Earth right now. But I've always used this, and probably everybody here has heard, but I always think of our bodies when we get a boil. You know, when that boil comes, it doesn't come up red and, you know, full of pus right at the beginning. It's sore. You can just feel it, you know, on your hand or wherever it is, beginning to come. And that's how America and our world has been. We've seen this. We've known we had dis-ease. But all of a sudden, all of these things are beginning to come up, and we're seeing this boil come to the surface. But what we're seeing is it's going to pop. We are really at that pivotal moment when that boil is going to pop. So what we're seeing is that corporate mindset. So the physical mind really can't reason this out. I was reading an article this morning about the people the shooters, and we're asking why they did it. But you can figure it out. But how many of you read the book Power versus Force? about how the consciousness share, anyway, you can measure the consciousness. You know, anger, like I think Diane was saying, anger is a higher consciousness than self-pity. So what's happening is they were measuring the consciousness of these men, and it was about 17, and the general is about 230 right now when they did these acts. So something is really happening, but we say we have no answers. You know, we say, why are they asking? And the video covering is chilling, isn't it? And they're going to keep playing it over and over and over for us to see, because it does grip us in fear. It does grip us in emotion. And that's we've seen the horror of what these people have gone through, you know. But what we saw too, and I'm going to bring a story that Miles, but I have some other stories. We saw husbands shielding wives. We saw mothers shielding children. There was a 50-year-old man I read about this morning that shielded a whole group of college students because he said, I've lived, and you haven't lived as much as I have. And he threw himself in front of all these college students. And so in those moments, politics didn't matter. Parties didn't matter. Race didn't matter. Really, even what you believed didn't matter. What we really saw was this spirit of oneness. Whether we kneel or stand didn't matter. Old or young, black or white, none of it mattered. It was the moment that the spirit of oneness shined so brightly, and we got to see it. You know, in the Twin Towers, we saw all those that came and began to help. So every one of us woke the next morning with this collective understanding that somewhere a mother was mourning her son. You know, we felt that. We felt that compassion. You know, father or daughter, brother or sister. In that moment, we begin to recognize, and this is the point I want to make, that we're a global family. That we all have those same feelings, those same attachments. So what we really see was this, that one author, I was reading something, called it the spirit of adoption, where we begin to adopt each other as a family, as a global family on this planet. So do we understand fully? No, but are we the ones that have to look at it from a higher perspective? You know, if we really believe that people plan their lives before they come in here, and maybe those people decided to that was their life purpose. I always think of a baby that comes in and dies at birth, and the lesson that it teaches the family, the parents. You know, what is the life purpose? If we can see that, and the reality is there is no death. You know, life, we are an energy, and it can only be transmuted. It can never, never die. So we're learning those things. So in that moment, we see we're in the same family. Our differences don't matter. You know, we park so much on our differences, but our differences don't matter. We are joined together as humans to mourn this incredible loss. But what we recognize is our differences don't matter. And I think that's one of the things that we really learned out of this. I wrote a quote by Mr. Rogers, and this morning I was saying, I've got my own Mr. Roger over here. But anyway, here's the quote. It says, you remember Mr. Roger? Let me tell you a joke. I'm going to tell you real quick, because when my son was little, he was swimming in the pool, and I had my feet around him. And he says, Mom, you're my best friend. I said, I am, Anthony. He says, you're my best friend in the neighborhood. Yeah, Mr. Rogers. Anyway, that makes me think of Mr. Rogers. Anyway, when I was a boy, this is Mr. Rogers. When I was a boy, I would see scary things in the news, and my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. So if we can look for the helpers and look for the gifts. One of the things Miles said was that he and Rebus began to make a list of what positive things came out of this. Because we, as those higher-minded people, have to shift our consciousness. We can't get into that. You know, you can't go down in a valley and help pull somebody up. So we have to keep seeing that there's a plan. Then look for ways we can each help those around us. Help at a soup kitchen. Visit the elderly. Find somebody, support their dreams, or call somebody, or have them over. Do the things you've been waiting to do right now. Don't wait. The time to help is now. Right now, before there's a catastrophe. It's all pressing us to come together as a humanity and recognize that we're a global family. No matter where it's happening in the world, that's our family. And we're here to display the power of love and not fear. And I think that's another thing we're here to do. As these things happen around the world, we're the ones that are going to bring the peace in, that can speak peace and love into other people instead of just, you know, aggravating that fear and passing it around. Love, even in the midst of all that we're dealing with, goes higher and above anything we can imagine that's happening in our world. And I think that's what Diane was saying too. Love is everything. And I was in the bathroom in the back this morning, and I got this out. This is something by the Dalai Lama, and I thought, this is really, what a mantra for humanity. May I become at all times, both now and forever, the protector of those without protection, a guide for those who have lost their way, a ship for those with oceans to cross, a sanctuary for those in danger, a lamp for those without light, a place of refuge for those who seek shelter, and a servant to all the world. And I think that's exactly what we're learning. It's pushing us into more compassion. It's pushing us into be of service to humanity, and to look at those people that jump in. I mean, think of that moment, that 50-year-old man, in that moment, he wasn't thinking from here. He had gone down to here, and he jumped in front of those college students. We're seeing the real depth, the spirit of humanity in some of these things. So we have to rise above it. Give our love and send donations, whatever it is you feel to help those there. But know our world really is evolving, and the light is beginning to shine. In the midst of the darkness, look for the light. And that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to put a little light. I've had people call me during the week, kind of ask me, what's going on? Because so much is going on. Yes, so much is going on, but it's all leading us. There's a scripture that I always hold on to in the Bible, and it's I think it's Ezekiel or Isaiah, and it says, there's great darkness that covers the earth, great darkness of people, but in the midst of that darkness, your light will shine, and people will be drawn to you. And that's exactly what's happening right now. There's a great darkness on the earth, but those that are fearful are going to be drawn to all of us, so we can speak life into them. So I just honor you as being those lights, those ones that were spoken of thousands of years ago that would be manifested on the earth today. And so it is. I want to thank Diane. I'll tell you, I always wonder what's going on in Diane's mind, and now I know. I mean, look at her. Is she beautiful? She was Miss Florida. But she could still be Miss Florida.
Yes.
So thank you, Diane, so much.